I'm Jeremy Wade, biologist, extreme angler, monster hunter. I've travelled the world to solve seemingly inexplicable freshwater deaths, uncovering monstrous culprits lurking below the surface. Now I'm on the trail of the most brutal attack I've ever heard of.
It's extremely gruesome.
A man killed when something in the water ripped off his face. To track down this culprit, I have to journey to the remote heart of South America.
Nobody really knows what's down there.
Where the battle for survival is fiercest. What have I gotten myself into?
Just bone was left, everything else was eaten.
But once I'm on the trail of a river monster, there's no turning back. I've now been travelling to South America for 20 years. And whenever I return, I find new horrors hiding in its waters.
I recently came across a grim report from only a year ago. A young man was swimming across a South American river.
Suddenly, he started struggling and then disappeared below the surface. He was only underwater for a matter of moments before being pulled out, but it was already too late. He was dead.
But this was no drowning, as he had highly unusual injuries. According to the report, something under the water tore his face off, while leaving the rest of his body untouched.
The river monster behind this attack sounds truly terrifying. But I don't have much to go on. The report is brief, with barely any detail.
In this internet age, we're used to having all the information we want at our fingertips. This story, however, comes from a part of the world beyond its reach. When you're dealing with an information black hole, the only way of delving deeper is to go there.
All I know is that the death happened on the Rio Yata, which flows through northern Bolivia, a country I've never been to. This is a very remote region, practically cut off from the rest of Bolivia by impenetrable forest. The best way for me to get there is to fly to Brazil, then drive the perilous roads to the river that forms the border. This is a very poor and dangerous part of the world, where cocaine smuggling touches everything. In the near absence of roads, rivers are the main highways, especially for organised crime.
There are miles and miles of river where anybody can slip across unnoticed.
As soon as I cross over into Bolivia, I start asking questions.
Una preguntita. ¿Ustedes saben algo del accidente aquí en este río o año pasado?
But nobody has heard about the death I'm here to investigate.
No? No of you? No, she doesn't know anything. Hasn't heard anything at all.
The only lead I can follow is the river itself. The Rio Yata twists and turns for 650 miles through dense jungle, and the fatal attack happened somewhere along here. My plan is to work my way along the river, stopping at any sign of habitation along its banks, asking questions and seeking clues in my mission to solve this murder mystery. My guide is Luis, the only motorboat owner I could find who's willing to take me through this wilderness.
This river hasn't been explored by scientists. Nobody really knows what's down there, so it could be the perfect place for an as yet undiscovered monster to be lurking.
I need to keep an open mind as to the killer's identity. I want to get my line into the water and start gathering leads, no matter how small. I don't have to wait long. It looks like some kind of freshwater stingray.
I'm going to try and slide it on to the beach here.
It may not be the biggest monster in the river, but stingrays are the most feared fish in South America. Known as the wish-you-were-dead fish, they're responsible for countless injuries every year. I continue my journey, bend by snaking bend, on the lookout for any clues. And fishing every likely spot, day and night. I also talk to any villagers or fishermen I come across. Until finally, I meet someone who's heard about the death.
¿Sentido aquí o más abajo? ¿Lejos o cerca? Lejito.
Well, I'm going in the right direction. He says it's downstream from here, but he says it's quite away. He tells me a bit more detail about the death. What he heard was that just bone was left, everything else was eaten. Another fairly gruesome detail in addition to what I've heard already. This is a significant piece of information. Whatever attacked the man didn't just make a grab for his head. It sounds like it was actually feeding on him. I've been traveling the river for 3 days now, and I haven't caught anything capable of doing that kind of damage. But all that could be about to change.
What's this? What's this?
Oh! Here we go, here we go.
Red-bellied piranha. There's a very audible crunch going on there. This is the most notorious of the piranhas. It's got very sharp teeth, which interlock a bit like scissor blades. And looking at this one, what's very characteristic, it's got a very solid, broad head. And what this largely means is there's a lot of musculature under the gills there in the sort of the cheek region behind the eye. That's the force behind these cutting blades.
They may have the hardware, but after 20 years of fishing in South America, I've come to the conclusion that most of the time their bloodthirsty reputation isn't much more than Hollywood hype. To prove it, I've jumped into piranha-infested rivers. I've even sat in a pool full of them, without getting so much as a nip.
These piranhas were tearing into a piece of dead meat just a couple of minutes ago, but they're just not interested in me.
And dead meat is the clue. Few aquatic hunters would turn down an easy meal of a dead animal. And when I investigated a story of a whole bus full of people reportedly eaten alive by piranhas, it turned out that the wounds were inflicted after they drowned.
I've not heard, as yet, a confirmed report of these actually killing a healthy adult.
So piranhas aren't on my suspect list. But somewhere in this river, there's a freshwater killer, and I'm determined to find it. With my guide Louise, I travel further down the river without seeing any sign of human habitation, until we finally come across a small village. I still don't know where the attack took place or even the victim's name, so I'm hoping somebody here can start filling in the blanks.
Senora. Doesn't look like there's anyone at home here.
The first few people I speak with know nothing.
Okay.
But my persistence pays off.
¿Usted sabe algo?
Sí. ¿Sobre de qué momento de lo que ha sucedido?
Sí.
Oscar Barbosa es.
I've got a name and a place. The man's name was Oscar Barbosa.
De aquí de la comunidad Rosario del Yata hasta Santa Teresita dicta un día.
It was on the river here, a village called Santa Teresita.
Sí.
and that's about a day away from here, travelling on the river. Gracias.
Okay.
I'm finally on the right track. I've been told that the village I'm looking for is at a ferry crossing.
So I think this is it. I think this is the place where it happened. This is the place where I'm getting off the boat. This is the village where Oscar died, and if I'm going to get answers anywhere, it's going to be here.
But very quickly I discover that Santa Teresita is practically abandoned. There's very little employment in these remote villages, and many people have to leave for weeks at a time to follow seasonal work. I find a few people left who have heard of the attack, but they weren't in the village at the time and seem reluctant to talk about it.
I'm having trouble finding anybody who saw what happened. There's actually very few people around. There's lots of houses, but a lot of them seem to be empty. I'm just thinking if it happened on a day like today, there wouldn't really be many people around to witness it. But what I have heard, second-hand, is that apparently Oscar wasn't from here. He was on his way through.
They say he came from a town called Marin. I'm told that one minute he was on the ferry boat, and the next they were dragging his body from the water. There's a villager who saw the whole thing and recovered his body. But he's not here now, and they don't know when he'll be back.
Okay, gracias.
He says if I want to know more, perhaps I should try to find Oscar's family in Marin. So the only way to push my investigation on is to leave behind the attack site I've only just discovered and head for the town. But I don't have much choice if I want to get to the bottom of this case. I now have a name to go on. And when I get into town, I track down a man named Juan, a relative of Oscar's mother, who takes me to her house. This is a sensitive situation. She lost her son only 12 months ago. I don't want to intrude, so I decide to leave the camera outside. But I've hit a brick wall. She's refusing to talk about Oscar's death. Outside, Juan explains that it might not all be down to grief.
Obviously, part of this is the fact that she's still very upset by this. But he's also saying that he's heard that some people have been getting to her in some way, saying that she's not to talk about this to other people. So, you know, there's something going on here. Something's not quite right.
From past experience, I've found that people are normally grateful for any attempt to make sense of the death of a loved one. This reaction makes me suspect that something else could be going on. Juan points me in the direction of a local journalist named Dorian, who reported on Oscar's death at the time. I'm hoping he can help me with some details surrounding the case.
Las dificultades que hemos encontrado como comunicador social, primero encontrar la familia.
It sounds like he hit a number of dead ends when reporting this case. He had a name of a police officer who supposedly investigated. This person turned out not to exist. There was no police investigation, no report there. And also, the body was buried within 24 hours very quickly, considering that some of the family members had suspicions that this wasn't a straightforward accident, that this could in fact have been a murder.
But I'm not a homicide detective, and I'm beginning to wonder if I've waded in too far. This region of Bolivia is notorious for drug-running gangs. I've heard before of criminals taking bodies to the river to cover up evidence of a murder or the identity of a victim, using the river's scavengers to strip flesh from bone. Was Oscar literally defaced? If his death is connected to organized crime, then the fact that I'm digging up details of a murder could threaten my safety. I'm beginning to wonder whether it's too dangerous for me to continue my quest. The next morning, I decide I've come too far to give up now. I have to push on to find the truth. Juan told me Oscar's body was taken to the morgue here, but just as I gear myself up to head downtown, I'm stopped in my tracks. Overnight, Guayramerin has turned into a ghost town.
This isn't making a lot of sense. I'm very anxious to be getting out, talking to people, find out if this really is a case of human foul play, of murder. But it's weird. It's not Sunday, this is the middle of the week, it's 10:25. There's nobody on the street. Well, I say nobody, there's military police, that's all. I can't go anywhere.
The soldiers on the corner have spotted me, and I find myself in front of the chief of police.
Censo de población y vivienda es.
He tells me that everybody in the whole country is under armed curfew, so that the government can keep track of all its citizens.
Everybody has to stay in their houses for 24 hours, they can't go anywhere. And even though I don't live here, that includes me, I've got to stay inside.
If I don't get off the streets now, I could be arrested. I've got no choice but to sit it out for another day. The next morning, I continue my investigation. I head to the hospital to see if anyone knows how Oscar met his gruesome end. I find Dr. Navarro, the man who signed Oscar's death certificate. The first thing he does is pull out a photo of Oscar's injuries.
This is not the kind of picture I'd want to show around, really. This is the evidence. It's purely the face. It's extremely gruesome. And he's never seen that before, where it's been such a localized attack, localized injury. It is really very horrific.
But did these injuries kill Oscar, or are they covering up evidence of a stabbing or shooting? Dr. Navarro says there was no evidence of murder. Oscar was definitely attacked and killed by something in the water. So how did Oscar die?
And the cause was blood loss. Once anything attacking gets beyond the soft tissue, all it's got to do is puncture one of these arteries, and what with the pressure of the blood behind it, somebody can actually bleed to death in a very short time.
From the bite marks left on Oscar's head, Dr. Navarro is in no doubt as to what did this. Piranhas. For years, it's been an article of faith for me that despite the hype, piranhas don't normally kill people. Dr. Navarro's findings potentially throw this into question. Scavenging on dead bodies is one thing, but this is the first time I've seen such graphic, gruesome medical evidence of somebody being killed by piranhas.
Is it possible to say which type maybe was involved here?
No es posible, porque no tenemos los medios para poder determinar.
He's saying that there's no real way after the event that you can tell which type was responsible. They're all very voracious, but pointing the finger can't be done.
There are nearly 40 known species of true piranha in the world, some more aggressive than others. but none in my experience would normally do this. That makes me think that one of two things might have happened. Either something has changed the way the piranhas behave here, or the remote Rio Yata is home to a new ultra-aggressive species of piranha that I've never seen before. There's only one way to find out what's going on. Head back to Santa Teresita and get a line in the water. I'm told that just downstream from where Oscar died, there's a series of rapids where locals catch various different types of piranha. Maybe this is where I'll find the man killer.
So far I've been catching a variety of fish, but what I'm going to do now is specifically target piranhas. So I'm going to start off, I think, using an artificial bait, something which mimics a small fish and that sort of calls attention to itself in the water. And because anything that goes for that is likely to have teeth, then I've got about 10 inches of wire on the end there. Otherwise they just bite through the line.
My location is a half-built, abandoned hydroelectric dam.
There's a really nice slack on the edge of the rapid here. Classic predator ambush territory. Lots of white marks all over the rocks here, so the cormorants have been finding fish. I think it all looks pretty good.
But before I start fishing, something unusual catches my eye. Hundreds of tiny fish are making their way over the man-made rapids.
This is water that would just sweep me away. And here you've got these creatures mostly about an inch long, some of them are 2 or 3 inches, making their way up against the current.
A bite-sized snack for any piranha.
Right, that's some of the easiest fishing I've had for a little while. Oh,
Only fast, powerful fish can survive in these rapids.
oh. Something as it, right, what's that? This is something.
A vampire fish, a saber-toothed, distant relation of the piranha. Some vampire fish grow up to 4 feet long. Their dagger-sharp fangs are tailor-made for impaling other fish in lightning-fast attacks. I've even seen them bite off more than they can chew in cannibalistic assaults on their own kind.
It's got another one down its throat.
Although it's got terrifying dental hardware, these teeth can't strip flesh from bone in the way that Oscar's attacker was able to do. But anything that can share the water with these must be an impressive predator in its own right.
I just saw a flash, something going for it. Hey, that's a fish. That's a red piranha. Not going to take any chances. I don't want my fingers too close to the teeth.
But nothing can prepare you for the unexpected.
Ow! Well, I've just impaled myself on a treble there. That hook has gone right in my thumb. I've got to deal with that.
As the red-bellied piranha struggles, the hook digs deeper into my thumb.
It's the first time I've actually done that, but I have seen it happen to somebody else, and we had to give them half a bottle of whiskey and then hold him down on a table to pull it out.
I can't pull the hook straight out because the backwards-facing barb is dug right into my flesh.
Can you just hold the lure like that, where my fingers are?
While the soundman takes the weight of the fish off my thumb, I get to work with some pliers.
That hurts. I'm just letting that bleed because there's probably fish slime and all sorts in the wound. just wondering if a little bit of human blood on this might be that extra little something.
All piranha species have an extremely acute sense of smell. It's thought they're able to detect a single drop of blood in 50 gallons of water. Will my blood attract something different onto the line?
That's interesting. That is different. That is different. This isn't a red-belly piranha. This is a black piranha. Compared to the red-belly, these are comparatively solitary, comparatively shy, but, well, you say shy, just look at the size of the lure that went for, about the same length as the fish itself.
These are the largest of the carnivorous piranhas. They're recognized as having the strongest bite, pound for pound, of any fish that's been measured. But these are solitary fish and don't hunt in packs.
Right.
So I don't see how one black piranha could overwhelm Oscar and bite off his entire face. This isn't the mystery piranha I'm after. After this, the piranhas start coming thick and fast.
Revised technique of unhooking.
The river is teeming with piranhas, but I haven't found any evidence of a new ultra-aggressive species in the Rio Yata. I'm no closer to finding an answer. If I can track down the witness who recovered Oscar's body, maybe I can get closer to the truth. I head back to the scene of the crime, Santa Teresita. It looks like many people have now returned to the village. These people know the man I'm looking for, and they say he's here. I'm pointed in the direction of his house. Finally, someone who actually witnessed the attack.
It's Don Carmelo.
Carmelo tells me it was a day he'll never forget.
Sucedió así. Cuando yo
Finally, I hear the true story behind the tragic death of Oscar Barbosa. Carmelo was operating one of the ferries that runs across the Rio Yata. It was a hot day, and he saw Oscar dive into the water.
Y de ahí él cruzaron y de ahí volvió y de ahí se largaba el río.
At first, he was swimming without difficulty. But then he started struggling and sinking below the surface.
The third time he went under, Carmelo realized that this was serious, something had to be done.
Carmelo and a friend raced out to the spot where Oscar disappeared.
A la vuelta, Alan, a la vuelta.
He tied a rope around his waist and bravely dived in. But the water was murky and he couldn't find him. He went under a second time, but nothing. The third time he started to feel his way around.
Fourth time he went down, he found a foot and hung onto it.
While bringing Oscar's body up to the surface, he felt a searing pain in his arm. Carmelo, too, was under attack. He still bears the scars of the wounds he endured retrieving Oscar from the bottom of the Rio Yata.
As he surfaced with the body, he said the piranhas all surfaced like a shoal of sardines or something coming up with the body.
Rápido me subí arriba y no lo largué.
By then he'd seen the damage, he'd seen where all the flesh had been eaten away, a lot of bleeding, and he said at that time, you know, Oscar was already dead.
But with almost 40 species of true piranha,
Y aquí.
which one is the culprit?
Do you know what type of piranha they were here?
Acá, cerca de aquí, del pecho, es colorado, todo esto colorado. Rojo ya, es rojo.
He says they were brightly coloured, red, and he indicated the belly and the flanks, and there's a very clear positive ID. Those were red-bellied piranhas.
This wasn't what I was expecting to hear. Carmelo's testimony is the first time I've heard an eyewitness describe an adult human being targeted and killed by red-bellied piranhas. It's an unprecedented event and runs counter to experiments I've conducted showing that red-bellies won't normally attack people or large animals. That they're not the monsters that B-movies would have us believe they are. So is this just a freak event? Or is something bigger going on here? Carmelo says that Oscar's is not the only attack he's come across on the river.
2 metros nomás ahí. Y ahí todavía 2 metros todavía.
Piranhas struck near a riverside ranch very recently. If I hurry, I might make it there before nightfall. On the way, I hear news of other attacks.
Allá más arriba de mi casa, allá ha morido mi primo. Piranha, grande así, mira.
He's saying there's big piranhas here. His cousin was bitten.
Estaba lavando su mano y se mordió.
Ah, okay.
Claro.
Yeah, he was washing his hands, and something came along, took a big lump out of his hand. So he says, piranhas, you've got to watch them here.
The case against the piranhas is building. It seems that Oscar's attack was not a once-and-done incident. We just make the ranch by dusk, and the conversation soon turns to attacks.
Aquí las pirañas son agresivas, son malas, ellas miran sangre.
Culebra, a labourer, tells me that the attack Carmelo heard about happened only 6 months ago. This time it wasn't on a human, but something larger and much more powerful. 3 cowboys found a horse from a neighbouring ranch that had swum across the river onto their land. They got it back into the water to return it.
It was literally just a few feet away from the bank and the piranhas attacked it. And as soon as it started bleeding, more and more piranhas came.
The cowboys desperately tried to recover the horse.
But just the time that it took them to do that, the animal was dead. Not only that, it had been hollowed out by the fish. And when they managed to get the body of the horse out of the water, there was apparently just a stream of piranhas falling out of a hole in its skin. It was that quick that it happened.
These latest stories have given me a lot of food for thought. I realise I can't deny the mounting evidence I'm faced with any longer. The piranhas here seem to be more aggressive than normal. In chaos theory, the term butterfly effect suggests that a small change, such as the tiny breeze created by butterflies' wings, can escalate into huge and unpredictable consequences. The chain of cause and effect in nature ripples from one event to another, and never more so than in the watery environment of rivers. piranhas here are attacking healthy living people and even creatures as large as horses. But why? Perhaps something has happened in the river to provoke this change in behavior. I've seen something similar before in Papua New Guinea. The normally vegetarian pacu started attacking humans in the absence of its usual food supply. If the peaceful pacu can be transformed into a savage attacker, could something similar happen when the piranha's environment is changed? I start asking around to see if people have noticed anything that's changed in the Rio Yata. I'm soon told of a predatory fish that appeared in these waters just 20 years ago. Could its arrival have some connection to red-belly piranhas turning into man-killers? I've got a new fish to find, but will it close the case?
What's this?
I've found a couple of locals who'll take me to where I might be able to catch one of these mysterious river invaders. The only other people around are gold prospectors living on dredgers in the middle of the river. The final part of the journey is a trek through jungle to a lake.
The lake apparently is an oxbow. That's to say it's a bend of the river. When the water's up, it's actually part of the river, but when the water goes down, like now in the dry season, it's cut off, so you have to come through the forest. And I can just see water now.
But the dry season is fast turning into wet season. The rain is falling harder and harder.
Just sitting here waiting for a break in this rain. At the moment it's just going without any let-up, and the guys say this could actually be the start of the wet season. And if that is the case, what that means is the lake's going to fill up, it's going to turn to muddy soup, it's going to join with the main river, and chances of anybody catching anything are going to disappear until some months from now.
The rain is showing no sign of easing. We can't wait any longer and have no choice but to head out to get a line in the water. Hours pass and nothing is biting. We decide to fish into the night. One of my guides, Gary, is concerned that the weather is only going to get worse. So we bring his fishing method into play too, to increase our chances of catching this mysterious fish.
Basically there's one main line. Every 10 yards or so, the baits are going to be suspended. They won't be on the bottom, they'll be somewhere in mid-water. So it's a fairly intensive deployment of hooks and baits.
Fishing at night means I'm working virtually blind. But if the creature I'm here to find has truly invaded these waters, then hopefully I'll be able to get a bait in front of one.
Yeah, that's a fish, that's a fish. That's good size as well.
Gary tells me this is the mystery fish he brought me here to find.
I might just glove this.
And it's one I've met before.
All right. So there we go. This is an arapaima.
This is a fish I was never expecting to catch here. Arapaima shouldn't be in Bolivia. They're not native to these waters. but their presence here could explain the gory attacks that happened on the Rio Yata. Arapaima are formidable predators, and one fish is a favourite meal: piranhas. If these waters are riddled with arapaima, they could be nailing the piranhas, picking off the slower, weaker ones and leaving the stronger and more aggressive fish. And if they're competing for the same food as well, perhaps this has forced the piranhas to become much more aggressive. This is a young arapaima, and to me, that makes it even more significant. It means that arapaima haven't just invaded, but they're breeding here. How many more are out there? How bad has this invasion become? We need to check the lines. As we pull them in, it becomes clear.
Right. Yeah. Here we go, there's the fish.
They're here in force.
These fish, given the right conditions, warm water, they don't need a lot of oxygen, they can absolutely take over. So once the genie's out of the bottle, you know, there's no putting it back. These things, they're here to stay.
And I know only too well how big they can grow,
Can see the fish.
dominating the waters they live in.
Massive female arapaima. In the case of what happened on the Rio Yata that day, I see now all the possible pieces of the jigsaw. Maybe this is what caused Oscar's death, not the direct cause, but one of the factors that upset the balance.
And push the piranhas into becoming more aggressive, attacking anything and anyone as they fight for survival in this more competitive and dangerous river world. Maybe it was only a matter of time before someone was killed. Oscar was the unlucky one, in the wrong place at the wrong time. Caught in the perfect storm, as nature does what nature has always done: adapt to survive.
It's gone already, and it just seems very unreal now that it was here. A lot of people, even living around here, no idea that creatures like that are almost right under their nose.